Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Therefore, no current or prospective client should assume that the future performance of any specific investment strategy, including the investments and/or investment strategies recommended and/or purchased by advisor, or product made reference to directly or indirectly, will be profitable. Different types of investment involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment will either be suitable or profitable for a client's investment portfolio. No client or prospective client should assume that any information presented serves as the receipt of or substitute for personalized investment advice from the advisor or any other investment professional.
Welcome to the Bullington Capital Report, hosted by Bill Bullington. For the next hour, you'll receive information on current market conditions and trends that could affect your financial future. If you have a question, you can participate in today's program by calling 216-901-0945. That's 216-901-0WHK. You can also reach Bill by going to his website, bullingtoncapital.com. And now, here's Bill Bullington.
Well, welcome back. Been a exciting week, to say the least. Watching the market tumble all over the world in response to Trump's tariffs. And is it going to continue down this way? We really don't know. And in fact, what's interesting to me is I've always known for a very long time that markets have a tremendous amount of volatility. The average range of the average stock on the New York Stock Exchange 20 years ago was 50% a year. And a lot of people don't realize that, because most people are invested in some sort of funds or portfolios of stocks, and it's unusual for them all to correct at the exact same time. In fact, if you look through the S&P 500, not all these stocks were down during the worst times, and not all the stocks go up when you're experiencing really good times. And it's just one more reason you got to be really careful. I have that the risk tolerance questionnaire that I've been using forever that has just now gotten around to a lot of the bigger firms. And I'm going to tell you why why I was using it is when I first got into this business, I read something that Warren Buffett had been quoted on, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember the gist of it. And he said something along the lines of, if you can't stand to see the value of your stock drop by 50% or more, you shouldn't buy stocks. And I thought he was kidding. And it was nothing that was brought up during my training for securities, but the average range. And Peter Lynch actually put that in one of his books. Peter Lynch, if you don't know who he was, which is kind of funny today, because if you're under the age of 40, you probably don't know who he was. But you might. It depends on how much you read. Anyway, he was a portfolio manager for Fidelity, and nobody's ever matched his track record. And he, in fact, during the time that he was managing the Magellan Fund, outperformed Warren Buffett. And so Warren Buffett actually called him up and invited him to dinner, which he ended up taking him up on it. And it's kind of interesting, because we used to be able to see a lot of stuff at Fidelity when I worked there. And it was unbelievable, like how many stocks that these top portfolio managers would buy, and they would just drop like a rock. It was mind-boggling for me to watch that. And, but I watched those stocks, and I would write them down and follow them, look at their financial statements. What do they do? And eventually, vast majority of them would actually come back, so that if you had added to your holdings, if you really believed in the company, and you added to your holdings when it was down, 70 or 80%, those were a little unusual, but 50%, no sweat. Yeah, oftentimes they would come back and go on to multiples of the price that they were before they had fallen down. But it wasn't overnight. It was over time. sometimes a long time. And I like to say that stock market time is kind of the reverse of dog time. Dogs have a tendency not to live as long as humans do, so they uh, typically age several years for every 1 year that a human does. And the stock market can be just the opposite. The growth that you expect to happen over the next year or two might take 5 or 10. And everybody I've ever read about, most of the other really famous portfolio managers, Robert Rodriguez, Peter got it, even after Peter Lynch. Well, anyway, most of the guys around in the 90s and early 2000s, even, they're gone now. They're all retired. A lot of them still like to give interviews, though, and let's like to keep up with that. But bottom line is, it takes an enormous amount of patience and confidence to continue to do what you should be doing when stuff like this happens. And it goes back to what I started using this questionnaire that I created a long time ago, more than 20 years. I'm surprised that it's just now being adopted by a lot of the bigger firms. I just thought it was a lot easier. And my question was this: how much of a decline can you accept in your portfolio? Or how much do you think you could put up with without losing sleep? And bottom line is, whatever that number, let's say 30%. That's where my number is today. It's a lot less than he's at. Mine was 50% forever, so I was mostly stock most of my life. A couple of years ago, I was thinking, I'm not nearly as young as I used to be. And so I don't think I want to have to wait, a full 10 years to get all my money back if we do have a big drop in the market. So I think I'll put 30% into stock. That was into fixed income. The other 70% in stock. And so when something like this happens, believe me, I feel it at least as much as you do. And I'm always investing in the same things that I recommend to my clients. So, I'm there with you. I feel it the same way you do. It's a little easier for me to put up with. I have complete faith in the economy. I have no doubt it's going to recover. That's my belief. Why do I believe that? Well, there was this course I took in college. I didn't know it at the time. I just took it because I thought it sounded interesting. And but it was called Money, Credit, and Banking. And it was basically an overview, just a beginner's class. And I think it was sophomore level or something like that. But it just kind of explained the banking system and how it works. And after that class was over, I had an enormous amount of confidence in the economy, because we literally can get ourselves out of any financial holes that we dig. Some may take a little bit longer than others. A lot of things are distasteful, but there's never going to be the big one. I've been waiting for the big one ever since I got into this business and started talking with clients who, for some reason, just thought that one day there's going to be this huge, massive crash and everything was going to go away. And I'm going, what? Hey, how could you think that way? I mean, there are a lot more people than there were, 20 years ago in this country, and every single one of us needs to eat. We have to wear clothes. Well, hopefully we're wearing clothes. Most of us, especially as the older ones. Just kidding. But you have to live places. There's electricity that has to be generated, because you're not going to want to sit home in the dark. And anyway, the basic necessities have got to be produced, and that is a huge, huge amount of money. And the coordination of the employment, all the people that have to work together, they don't even realize they're working together. They think they're doing one specific job, which is kind of true, but it fits into the grand scheme of things. And all that stuff collectively is what we call our economy. And unless everybody disappears, they're still going to need to eat. They're going to need places to live, cars to drive, gas to go in those cars, heat in the winter, cool air in the summer, and life's going to go on, and it's going to be everything's going to be fine. It'll actually be fine. In fact, even I'm looking at small cap value oriented funds. It's down about 20% from where it was, and this was in 2021. It had peaked near the end of 2021, and it had gone down. Then it just made a new high just actually a couple months ago, and now it's down like 25% from that level. And again, this is nothing new. The new part of investing is over the past 15 years, the data has gotten more available online. People are able to see it more. You can watch your portfolio during the day. And I'm going to tell you, people, if you looked at how the average investors are doing today versus what they used to be doing, pretty much even. So what does that mean? That means that with all this extra help, the vision that you can see of your portfolios, all the news lines you can tap into, you're not doing any better. You're still making an unbelievable number of mistakes. You've got to get rid of that, And what is it? Well, just how do I deal with it? I set my risk tolerance. Thing I was referring to just a couple minutes ago. My risk tolerance is 35%. If I'm down 35%, I'm not going to be losing any sleep. Now that's a lot. That's a big risk tolerance. Probably more suitable for somebody in their 40s. Okay? But I've been doing this for a long time. I have low expenses, and I wouldn't have to spend much money at all. If the market was down 35%, it's not going to cause me to tap into my savings. So I'm good. And everybody's different there, by the way. Just because you can afford a 35% decline doesn't mean that you're going to want to. And I don't want to. I'm just willing to. And so I guess that's probably a better word. If you were willing to have a 35% decline, you could have roughly 30 to 35% of your money in fixed income, and then 2/3 of your money into stocks. Hopefully, an organized methodology, not stocks that you're picking. That doesn't count. I've seen everything actually over the years. I've seen somebody with a single stock. This is all they have all their money in that one single stock, and they're investing in it every time with their paycheck. But very rare. And it was actually a long time ago. I haven't seen anybody doing that anytime recently, within the last 5 years or so. But I've seen a lot of people put everything into a handful of stocks or have a huge position in one stock. I think the biggest position I have of a stock in my portfolio is probably 10%. That actually I know it is. That's the largest position, and I won't go above that. The tools, stuff happen, and things happen that you can't possibly anticipate. I don't care how good you are at this. Everybody gets surprises, some good, some bad. And even Warren Buffett, if you look at the portfolio that he's got and how well he's done, there are a lot of companies in there that didn't do as well as he thought they were going to do. That's the way it goes. And the reason that he's as wealthy as he is, he understood that from the very beginning. And he was willing to put up with it. And willing to continue to try. I got about, probably 50 seconds here before I have to take a commercial break. This is Bill Bullington, right here on 1420, every Saturday from 11 to noon. If you hear anything that you'd like more information on this show, you can go to my website. It's bullingtoncapital.com, and you can reach out there, or you can call us at 330-664-0700. I'm going to take a real quick commercial break, and I will be right back.
What happened to you? I hear it all the time. They tell me something's different in my words and in my eyes.
Let's face it, there's a reason Cleveland homes have a stormwater drain line.
Basement flooding can be a real issue thanks to Lake Erie and spring showers.
Now, we hope it's not a problem for your home, but if it is, you know what we're talking about.
And you probably have a sump pump installed, if not more.
What we'd love to do for you is inspect your sump pump for free, because we don't want you to discover problems after things get wet. We'll ensure your pump powers up, turns on, pumps water, is sized properly, and hasn't collected debris in the basin or sump. A full inspection at no cost to you.
And if any problems do turn up,
You'll have just saved yourself some real spring shower headaches
and our straight-talking, hard-working, do-it-right plumbers will show you the issue.
and explain all your options for a fix. Because no Cleveland homeowner should get surprised by basement flooding.
So call for a free sump pump inspection and
Consider it done at WyattWorks.com.
Two things that hit a family budget the hardest: the price of gas and of groceries. Let us ease that pain at the pump when you enter the Gas and Groceries giveaway. Back for the third straight year, the grand prize winner gets $2,500 in gas and groceries gift cards. Two first prize winners will each get $500 in gift cards. That could be you, so enter today.
Enter at WHKRadio.com. That's WHKRadio.com.
No doubt about it, we're spending more time at home, which is the perfect time to make it more functional and beautiful. Hi, Ed Flash Ferentz here for Artistic Renovations, Northeast Ohio's premier and award-winning remodeler. Artistic did a fantastic job with our kitchen in 2016, and last year, they were back for the master bath. Oh, my word. Do yourself a favor and go to artisticreno.com. Believe me, you'll love their ideas and without question the finished product. For a virtual consultation, call 216-520-0838 or visit artisticreno.com.
You've heard the saying, all good things come to an end. Well, not always. Sometimes they just take a break. That's what's happening with Our Lady of the Wayside's car donation program after 24 years and 96,000 rides donated. Pretty amazing. Here's the story. The car lot's owners sold the property, making it impossible for car donations to be accepted at this time. According to the Wayside CEO, Terry Davis, the next right steps will be determined and communicated soon, so stay tuned. In the meantime, Terry and the entire team at the Wayside thank you for your continued support of the 450 individuals with developmental disabilities in the Wayside's care. And please take note, you can still support them by making a donation at thewayside.org. Thinking about updating your home? Well, Joyce Factory Direct specializes in replacing old, outdated windows. Proudly made right here in Cleveland, Joyce Windows features their exclusive Smart Shield high-performance glass, which means you'll be getting the most energy-efficient windows for your home directly from the factory. Customers just love how much warmer their house is and how easy their new windows operate and clean. Right now, you can save 50% on all installations. Just call to schedule a free consultation with on-the-spot pricing, 440-243-5700, or visit JoyceFactoryDirect.com.
Well, welcome back. Thought I would talk a little bit in this next section about organized stock portfolios. What is an organized stock portfolio? It's basically what a lot of firms offer now. You can have stock portfolios. You sit down with your advisor and take a look at what kind of risk you want to take. They'll give you several options as to how you want to invest that money based on that conversation. And basically, something I've been doing since I left to set up my own firm, and it's been around for quite a while. They used to refer to it just as managed money, but that was a slang term for insiders. It's managed money. It could mean a bunch of different things, but it's really important, and especially in times like this. And this is why when people sit down, the biggest question, and it's very difficult for a lot of people to answer, incidentally. But it's the most important question that you should ask yourself when you're thinking about investing is, okay, how much of a decline am I willing to see in an effort to reach my goal? Let's say your goal is to average 10% on the stock portion of your money. Okay? Or it could be overall. I can tell you that if you are going to try to average over 10% on stocks, you're going to have to be willing to risk half the money. You're going to have to be able to see a decline of at least 50%. Now, anytime I say that, people are like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." Okay, well, you probably are not going to reach 10% as an average annual return over a 10-year period or longer. You might get lucky, have right out of the box. You hit right before market took off and moved up 30 or 40%. And so now you're thinking, oh, I got it in the bag. Well, 4 or 5 years from now, over the next 4 to 5 years, there's probably going to be more than one correction, and it's probably be more than 10%, and it'll back you off there. So the stock market is aggravating as all get out. It's incredibly difficult to know what's next, and that is never been easy. It's always as hard. It's as hard today as it was 10, 20 years ago. Trying to predict this, it's just not really easy to do. In fact, the growth fund over the past 5 or 10 years, the funds that are ETFs that have the word growth in it, there's an algorithm that they're running. The algorithm is just a mathematical formula to try to they guide the funds as to which stocks they're going to include in that portfolio. The algorithms that are there, they all have different qualities. They'll add different things to the total return. The ones I find are the most important as far as long-term appreciation. There's size is a big one. The speed, that's basically how fast the stock's going up. That has to do with the market capitalization, and the profitability actually comes in third. By the way, if you lopped off the profitability and you just focused on size and speed, you would actually do better, which is mind-boggling. I would not put less than 40 stocks in a portfolio like that, but that's basically what the S&P 500 is. And all the way, also over a third of the money is in the top 10 stocks. So when you think you're like super well diversified, think again. And most advisors, they never look at this stuff. Yes, it's not what their clients. I don't know if their clients are not interested in it. Most clients are trying to figure out how to make as much money as they can, but pay nothing, and especially in the way of taxes or management fees. And good luck with that. And a lot of people will tell you, well, just buy the S&P 500. Okay. When you're down 50%, and you wait for several years to go by before you actually get close to where it was before it collapsed 50%, and then it goes down 50% again, and then goes up. And the reason I'm laughing is because, and if it was that easy, everybody would be extremely wealthy. So in the time period I'm talking about is March of 2000 and March of 2010. In March of 2010, you'd have been down about almost 50%. Actually, it was more, 2000, almost 50% from where you were in March of 2000. I'm going to pull that up again. Because I have to do that in the commercial break and then come back. Anyway, it was an incredibly long time. There was a decade, a lost decade is what they like to call it in the industry, where it actually made nothing on the money. And so for the younger guys, and mostly guys that are listening to this show, that's the reason that I I started investing in annuities as I started getting a little older because I can't afford to go 10 years with a zero or a negative return. And by the way, almost everybody on the planet, it suffered the same thing. And it's just an incredibly difficult thing to do. It makes planning extremely difficult. So what the hardest part about this whole thing is the market doesn't tell you that it's going to go down ahead of time. Kind of warn you, you know. The reason I don't know, I'm surprised I'm not more smart alecky than I am when I start talking about these things, because you should hear the conversation that people are letting loose in over things that literally are not in your control. You can't control, and these are people that have been around for a long time watching this. Just because they are watching it doesn't mean it's going to sink in. So that's what it's like being a financial advisor. You feel like you're just talking to yourself and telling yourself over and over and over again, and nobody's listening. Sometimes. A lot of people do. Going through times like this, people forget. They forget this is not the first time this has ever happened. This has happened a ton of times. Here's what I did. I went back and looking at the S&P 500 in 2000. Now, if you reinvested the dividend that you got, you would have actually broken even. If you invested in March of 2000, you'd have gone down 50%. It comes back up, gets to just a break-even point right around 2007, near the end, very end. So it's really close to 2008. Then it goes down more than it did from 2000 to 2002. Yep. And it takes to basically to get back to where you would, it would have been about 11 and a half, somewhere between 11 and 12 years. And that's if you didn't touch anything and just left it. You reinvested the dividend from it. And it's taking you a little over 10 years to break even. Now, and it's very tempting. There are a lot of stuff. I was reading it just this morning, and people were talking about the market, and they were only looking back. They weren't going back all the way to March of 2000. I'm thinking, wait a minute. You should really be studying like the 70s, when interest rates were unbelievably high and going higher, and the market did the same thing. The chart looks very similar to what it does right now. From 1969 to 1982, you would have been negative. And that last 4 years was extremely volatile from 78 to 82. Huge corrections in 72, 73. Sound familiar? If you go back and you study this, that's what you're going to find. So how do you navigate all that? Well, that's what the balance is there for. You're probably you may not like this answer because the crystal balls I've had in my office over the years, I've had more than one. I'm not sure what happens to it. I think cleaning people must take it out. But anyway, no, I only had two actually. The second one's still there. It's been there for 20 years, and you'll see the metal object that it sits. It was brass, and the brass was nice and shiny when it's new. Now it's all dull, and it's amazing how that happened. But so anyway, it's been around for a long time, still doesn't work. And that's the thing. You don't need this stuff to work. If you've got a good balanced account, if you got enough money set aside, got a risk tolerance, let's say your risk tolerance is 25%, which is pretty healthy. For most people, 25% is pretty good. You could have half of your money. Let's take a look at what I did there. 25%, I put times 2, it's 50. So that's basically how you figure out how much of your money should be in stocks if you have a 25% decline tolerance. Now, it might get close up to 30. If the last big correction we had, it would have been closer to 30. If you were at a 50-50 blend, and I've got mine at 30 anyway. But I put 70% of my money in the stock market because it's not going to matter for me, and I'm not going to have to take out any money early. So, knock on wood, that's basically how you do it. Super simple. I know I've talked the entire show about doing that, which means it doesn't seem like it's all that. No, it is. The thing you have to know is you have to know yourself, and you have to talk to your spouse. This is where people like me come in. Oftentimes, it's very difficult for people to talk, for married couples to talk about the money with each other. And I can show you the graphs. I can show both parties the graph. And this is what happened. This particular fund, by the way, is in the top 10% of all funds. And it's still, it took it a long time to get up and stay up above this certain level. And by the way, that in 2000, when it peaked in March of 2000, and it was the valuations on stocks were really high. I mean, really high. So I wasn't anywhere near 100% invested in stocks at that point in time. I'd like to say it was brilliant, but there's always an element of luck. I didn't have as much, but that 30% that was in stocks, it got cut in half, literally. So 30% that I was 70%. And by the way, I actually started to change firms during that time period because, well, first of all, I was being recruited. Secondly, one of my biggest clients who was in this industry for a very long time before he left and ran another company for about, that company's still here, by the way. Anyway, he recommended me to another company, a guy that he had brought into the business, and the guy had worked under him when he was in this industry. So I ended up transferring to that guy's firm, which worked out pretty well. And we were holding 70% of the money in money market, and I was getting a lot of heat from the compliance firm saying that you have to invest this money. And I said, yeah, no, I don't think so. And you typically don't want to go against the people in your. Lost my stone there for just a second. You typically don't want to argue with your compliance department, especially at the big firms. But I just saw the valuations and I knew my history, and it was just like, this is not good. This is not a good thing to do. So anyway, we was holding a lot of cash. They of course called it luck. I was just like, no. Valuations matter at some point in time. Most of the time they don't, by the way. When you're talking about individual stocks and even the whole stock market as a whole, there are lots of times where it's like valuations don't seem to matter at all. People are buying stocks no matter what the prices are, no matter how much they're paying for them. And I would say probably 50% of the participants on the retail side, people that don't manage money for a living or are not in the industry, half the people that are in the markets from that category have no idea how to value a stock. So that's dangerous. And there's no perfect way to do it. And there's some that are incredibly complicated, and I'm sure that they tried to start off with that. There are a lot of them that aren't. There are a lot of them that will do just as good a job as super sophisticated models. And they're not that hard to learn. But it would take you quite a while to figure that out on your own. I know, because that's what I had to do. And later you find other people that are doing things that are very similar to what you're doing. And in fact, it was all shaped by a lot of writing that other people had done. One of the big books, I guess, was Phil Fisher or Ken Fisher is one of the two. Ken Fisher, Phil Fisher's um, son, and Phil Fisher had a big impact on Warren Buffett on the way that he invests. And so I basically took something that I read in there, and the light went off, and I was going, oh. So this is an indicator that it's not the beginning and end of your work. Nothing's that easy, by the way. But if you want to evaluate a company quickly, and I'd give an example. Let's say it's, let's say you're looking at real estate. One of the things that's going to be pretty important is the price per square foot. So you look in the neighborhood, see what the average price per square foot is, and I don't have time to finish this before I go to a commercial break. So I'm going to come back, and it's very important. There's a analogy here that's going to help you understand the stock market. So stay tuned because I'll be right back. Go Bullington right here. Be back in a minute.
All of who you are reaches the darkest parts, lifting the weight and erasing the scars that had a hold on me.
All right, hey friends, Bob France here for the good folks at The Buff, Harry Buffalo, Great Northern Boulevard in North Olmsted. When's the last time you stopped in Harry Buffalo? If it's been a little while, you don't know what you have been missing. They have added so many phenomenal things, including the new lunch special, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2. You get your choice, 2 soups, salads, and sandwiches. You pick all, just $10. Now, that's the lunch special. They also have the happy hour specials, and that's my favorite. Weekdays from 4 to 7, a new food special every day of the week, wing day, burger day, pizza day, all kinds of great options for you. You can check them out online at harrybuffalo.com. As a matter of fact, while you're there, join the herd, get a free appetizer on your next visit. Take a look at the menu, whet your appetite just a little bit, and head on out. By the way, if you're looking for something after work, great drink specials and happy hour too. $3 for craft pints, domestic talls, well drinks, and house wines. $3 domestic pints all day. So whether it's lunchtime or happy hour time or dinner time, doesn't matter. It's a great time when it's Harry Buffalo time on Great Northern Boulevard in North Olmsted.
Do you ever find yourself saying, I need a vacation? Vacation Fixation can help. At Vacation Fixation, we specialize in all-inclusive trips and cruises to Mexico, the Caribbean, and Disney vacations. Why choose us? Our clients book through Vacation Fixation because they are frustrated with online trip brokers and timeshare scams. Whether it's a weekend getaway, a family trip, spring break, or honeymoon, Vacation Fixation will personalize a trip just for you. Want to know the hottest destinations in Cancun, Punta Cana, Jamaica, or Puerto Vallarta? Interested in room upgrades, beach reviews, or details about resort restaurants? How about finding a trip with a direct flight? At Vacation Fixation, we take all of your specific travel requests and shop our suppliers to find the best deal. What's the cost? Our suppliers pay us so you don't have to. Call 330-573-8147 for more details. Or you can visit our website at vacationfixation.com or check out the deal of the day on Facebook. Vacation Fixation.
Is it finally time to update your bathroom? Bath Planet, a division of Joyce Factory Direct, specializes in replacing and converting old showers and tubs into new, beautiful bathrooms in as little as one day. We have transformed thousands of bathrooms just like yours into a spa-like oasis that has homeowners excited to use their new bathtub or shower. Right now, all bath installations are 50% off. So call to schedule a free consultation with on-the-spot pricing. 440-243-5700 or visit JoyceFactoryDirect.com.
Well, welcome back. This is Bill Bullington. I'm here every Saturday morning from noon, and I feel bad for people. My brain just kind of skips from one idea to the next because sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up with. I understand that, and I really appreciate you still listening and calling. And I'll try to focus on the topics more frequently that you want to hear about. And if you wouldn't mind, just send me a note, bill@bullingtoncapital.com, or go to my website, bullingtoncapital.com. If you have something that you'd like me to look up to speak to, I would be very glad to do that. And starting to leave here, we're going to talk a little bit about CD rates, the rates on interest rates on fixed indexed annuities. That's my favorite type of annuity, mainly because the income that they guarantee is typically higher than CD rates are, and it stays that way. Well, the way that they work is that they put your money in the annuity, and they're going to give you a guaranteed interest rate schedule, and it will invest the money. If the investment does better than the guarantee, then you'll get that number. That's the number that you would get to take advantage of to start taking income from it at some point in time. And that's what these are for. These are there to create income. That's why I have mine. I think it's a good idea when you are in retirement that you have your basic expenses, your household expenses covered by guaranteed sources of guaranteed income, whether that's a pension, Social Security, an annuity. There are tons of different types of those where you can get different payouts on. But I think those basic expenses, the ones that your rent, your food, car, transportation, that kind of stuff, should be covered by something that's guaranteed. You don't want to be putting that in the stock market. I can guarantee that. Because there's no way to participate in stocks in a meaningful way. That when I say meaningful way, I mean I hear all these hedged and buffered and all this stuff, and I'm telling you, I took a series 3, a 7, a 9, a 10, a 24, 63, and a 65. I'm the only person I know of that I've ever met that's ever done that. Just because I wanted to know what you could do with your money. What are all the things that you could do with your money? And explored all those areas. And I can tell you, I traded options. I've traded futures contracts, options on futures contracts, and stock, single stock futures, you name it. If it's legal and you can do it with your money, I've already done it. And it's not what it's cracked up to be, by the way. In other words, a lot of this is very, very difficult. And some of the ones that, when I'm talking about some of the news, I get some feedback sometimes. People don't want to hear about it. Well, probably because you're young and you want to maximize on stocks, and that's great. That's okay. You just have to put up with the fact that the fastest growing segment of the population is 50 and over. And we're getting closer. Heck, I'm over 50 now. I actually turned eligible for Social Security last month. I'm not going to take it, but I just can't believe I'm still doing the same stuff, and it's kind of funny. It's fun though, pretty easy now. And but bottom line, I digress. But yeah, if I put $100,000 in, and at age 66, at age 67, a fixed index with a guaranteed lifetime income is $7,433. Pretty good. That's a pretty good guaranteed rate. Now, you can always cash these in if you want to. For the first 8 or 9 years, and there's a declining penalty there. I think it starts off at 8% and it's down. But 8%, even at 8%, they're 10% free, so it's really like a 7.2%. Even at that rate, if that was a worst case scenario, I mean, that is awesome. And by the way, if you die and you leave it to somebody, one of your immediate family members, they guarantee that they're going to get back the minimum what you put into it, minimally. Okay? So that's another good quality they have over other types of fixed income investments. You buy 30-year bonds and interest rates go up 1 or 2%. Watch what happens to those bonds. They're going to drop like rocks. And you could hang on to it for 30 years and finally get the money back. But anyway, something that's not for everybody. I get it. If you're a staunch, I just want to do stocks, great. And let me tell you what the most reliable, aggressive strategy I can think of is it's take the S&P 500, 500 stocks. Just take the top 40 out of there for performance over the past 6 months. Now, going once a month for that portfolio, and any of them that aren't still in the top 40 get replaced by the ones that are. And that's it. That's what you'll do. That's got had a great track record over its lifespan. I started off doing that a long time ago. I quit because people didn't like the fact that there were a lot of transactions in it. But I got to tell you, they don't charge for those transactions anymore. There's no fee for that. So who cares? Would I do it in a taxable account? No. Because the 1099s, when you're rebalancing 40 positions once a month, the 1099 is going to be about 40 pages. If it's not in an IRA, it's probably not the best thing to do. If you have put it in an IRA, that's great. If you don't want to do it, there are a couple of ETFs that are so close to it. I mean, you're just basically getting you're overanalyzing, because the results on a couple of ETFs and this particular strategy, they're all going to be within 1% of each other. If I could guess exactly which one was going to win this month, year, I wouldn't be working. Be flying over, racing Warren Buffett in his jet with my jet. But you just can't really know in advance exactly what things are going to be. And I guess it kind of surprises me. The reason I'm talking about this is I had a couple people email, and they're asking these types of questions, and I'm thinking to myself, was this the first time you listened to my show? Probably. And I don't mean to I really apologize if that's insulting. I don't mean to be. The bottom line is there are only so many things you can know about the market and stocks, and it's all that you need to know. You don't need to know any more than what's available to be able to do very well in stocks. And this is crazy. Somebody's headset is blowing up. But he's calling. I can't afford to get over to answer it. That's hilarious. So anyway, there's a website you can go to if you want to see the nationwide, the guaranteed income. The reason I like that is I've seen how difficult it can be to have good returns in the stock market, and these returns are guaranteed. You don't have to take it right away. The example I put up was someone at 66 now was going to take it next year. They had 100,000, they would get $7,433 a year for the rest of their life, even if they lived to 150. If they wanted to get out of it, there's a penalty the first 9 years. After 9 years, it goes away. They are investing the money, but personally, I don't believe that investment is actually going to do better than the guarantees will in the end. So we can talk to you about how it's invested if you want to call on something like for that. But the bottom line is, if you didn't take it, that schedule, that $7,433 goes up to $8,172 if I waited till I was 68, tap it for the income. If I wait to 69, it goes to $9,000. Okay, so this is $100,000 put in when you're 66. At 69, you would be guaranteed $9,000 for as long as you live. And again, it's invested. The chances of the investment outperforming that, I don't think it's going to do it. So I wouldn't even bother with that. If you didn't take any money out, or if you let's say you took off start taking off the $9,000 a year, they would take off what you have withdrawn from what you started with, and that's the guaranteed value of what your family would get. So it's awesome. Even if the stock market got cut in half, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah, I've seen that happen. I've been doing these for a very long time. I can remember back in 2000, 2004, and 2007 through 2009. There were people that had passed away who had these annuities. The cash value was way down, but they got the much higher amount. They actually were, back in those days, they guaranteed the amount, and this one will too, but it's just not going to supersede the amount that you've invested by a lot. But anyway, they got back all their money and then some, despite the fact that the market had crashed. That was kind of a big deal. And in fact, the one family didn't believe me. They didn't believe me for months after, they'd already had the checks in their hands. They're like, they thought it was a trick. And I get it. You hear a lot of stuff, crazy stuff going on all over the country, and I feel bad. I don't know what if I do, who I would go to if I didn't do this myself. But anyway, any of the stuff that you've heard, and I didn't get to talk a whole lot on the stock strategies. I apologize. I will hit that the very first thing on my next show. So I've only got about 30 seconds left here. This is Bill Bullington. I'm here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon. If you heard anything you'd like more information on, just go to my website, bullingtoncapital.com. Everybody had a good week, good investing, good luck.
You just caught another edition of the Bullington Capital Report, broadcasting every Saturday at 11 a.m. on AM 1420, The Answer. If you have a question and you'd like to speak to Bill personally, you can call him at 330-664-0700. That's 330-664-0700. Or online at bullingtoncapital.com. That's bullingtoncapital.com.
The preceding program has been paid for by Bullington Capital Management, LLC.